I think I worked for 15 to 16 hours as well.
मेरे को ऐसा लग रहा है कि यार मैं BCG में जाना चाहिए था, इतना cool side and इतने मजे भी होते हैं.
We got a call that there is one more round. And now we were like कि अब इतने round तो ले लिए, अभी क्या और round लेना है.
Hello everyone, welcome to the series Konversation with Kushal once again. आज हमारे साथ ऐसे गेस्ट है जो सेकेंड टाइम शो पर आई है and in the previous episode we've discussed her entire journey of getting an All India rank 1 at the age of 19 itself. If you haven't watched that video, you can click on the link given in the description box to watch that video, and in this video we are going to discuss her entire journey at Boston Consulting Group, which is one of the top 3 consulting firms across the globe. तो इसमें हम उसका पूरा वर्क एक्सपीरियंस जानेंगे एंड इन फैक्ट वी हैव टू कांग्रेचुलेट हर एज इट्स हर 1 ईयर वर्क एनिवर्सरी एट BCG एंड लेट्स डिस्कस द इंटरव्यू प्रिपरेशन टिप्स, मैनेजमेंट कंसल्टिंग होता क्या है, वहां पे सैलरी रेंज कितना होता है थ्रू हर इटसेल्फ. सो एज यूजुअल लेट्स ट्राई टू इंट्रोड्यूस आवर गेस्ट थ्रू सम विटी राइम्स. जिसका AIR1 आया था 2021 के साल, जिसको बहुत जल्द गुस्सा आता है बिकॉज उसका फेवरेट कलर है लाल, जो क्लासेस में पूछती थी बहुत सारे सवाल. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Nandini Agrawal. Thanks Nandini for coming up on the show. It's an absolute honor to host you today.
Thanks Kushal for having me, and I think it's one of the unique way of introducing me that I have come across till now.
Right.
Good one.
Thanks a lot. So usually like I introduce my guests through some witty rhymes itself. So मैंने जितने भी interviews किए, I try to just ensure कि थोड़ा uniqueness आए. And in fact, the guest would also remember कि okay, कुशल करके ऐसा कोई था जिसने इंटरव्यू लिया था. So that is just a sign of my introduction.
That's amazing.
Perfect, Nandini. So by the way, heartiest congratulations for completing 1 year at BCG today, which is 13th of December. I think, like kudos to you for completing an entire year, which is itself a massive achievement.
Thanks a lot.
Perfect. So let's try to discuss your journey after CA. हमने previous video में बात किया था, if you remember that, we discussed about your entire journey about AIR1 and कहाँ पे classes join किए थे. तो ये video को different रखेंगे. We'll discuss more about your entire experience at BCG, campus placements, क्या-क्या questions पूछे गए थे, and like so that students can also get to know कि क्या होता है exactly management consulting. So before getting into management consulting, can you just help us understand your entire journey after clearing your AIR1? And the entire campus placement process where you would have applied to a lot of companies and pura environment kaisa tha after clearing your exams?
Sure. So right after I got to know my result, I think you get a lot of calls from different companies ki this is the date for the interview and we are scheduling an interview on this date. And उस टाइम पे इतना busy होता है कि it becomes really difficult to say yes, okay, I can give my interview at this day. There are 2 reasons. Like there are a lot of other interviews scheduled with your teachers. Media is also coming at your home, and you don't want to give your interview in a like unprepared state of mind. So that was one thing which was happening with me at that point of time. And I think there is a gap like between, it's not that your all off-campus opportunities come after your campus placement. So sometime ICI releases its campus placement date much after exams, like it's almost 30 days after your result date. So for me, when I was sitting for my campus, okay, I will tell you one funny thing. So it's a rule of ICI, if you are below 21 years of age, then you have to seek special permission for attending the campus placement. So firstly, I have to mail that team, then I have to get a special permission that I want to attend the campus. So that was one additional task for me at least. So when the campus placement started, I shortlisted like 2-3 companies, but since I got into the first one, it's the rule of ICI that if you select one company and company has selected you, then you cannot give further interviews so that others can get a chance to get themselves recruited in that company. So my first round was with Accenture Management Consulting, and the questions they asked me were around like one basic and the standard question that everyone asks, tell me about yourself. I think that question is actually important to create your first impression. So in that question, it's not just telling about your background, it is not just telling about what you have done in your articleship, but creating a different impression that describes you, that sets you aside from others. It can also be your extracurricular thing as well. Because nowadays in campus placement, everyone is a CA, everyone like done some sort of task during the articleship. So yeah, that was one learning from the entire process. Secondly, in the Accenture Management Consulting interview, they asked me 2-3 case studies, and then they were asking me some behavioral questions. Also, I would say some tricky questions. So let's say they asked me, okay, if you got an offer from ITC and you have offer from us, then where would you go?
Okay.
Like these type of questions. Yeah. So the person who was interviewing me was from ITC, and he has worked for ITC for almost like 8 to 10 years. And that's why like he has a lot of respect for ITC as well. So you have to give a balanced sort of answer. Okay, I really like ITC as a company, and the leaders have been my model. But at this point of time, the kind of profile ITC is offering and the kind of profile Accenture is offering to me, I think my interest is more aligned to Accenture as compared to ITC. Something sort of a balanced answer you have to
Right.
give. So that is also one of my learning. So like Accenture selected me, and at that point of time when I was discussing with other folks, I thought, yeah, it's a good option as compared to other companies with whom the interviews were scheduled. So I said yes to the Accenture at that point of time, and I didn't give further interviews of the campus placement. After that, I have my other off-campus interview scheduled.
Right.
So then the journey of being interviewed in MBB started.
Right.
So yeah, that's all about ISA campus placement.
Got it. Any specific tips or recommendations you would like to give to all the students who are going to appear for their campus placement? Because अभी एक महीने बाद results आने वाले हैं, and from what I've heard is like 10 Jan या 16 Jan के आसपास results आने वाले. So any specific tip or like any specific advice you would like to give to all of them?
Yeah, one advice I would give. So if they are looking to get into consulting, or if they are looking to get into IBP, some sort of specific area which requires some specific skills, I would advise to talk to persons who are actually working in these professions, so that you get a practical idea of what you would actually be doing in that job. So in my interview, I was actually asked, okay, if this is the situation, what do you think would be a role as a consultant, or what would be your role in IB or PE? So it's very important to have the practical understanding rather than having just the bookish knowledge. So I think it's a great time to talk to people, talk to your peers, talk to your colleagues, seniors, to acquire that knowledge. And also, if someone is interested in IB or PE, they can go for some kind of financial modeling courses, because usually in an IB or PE interview, you are asked to create a model and you are given like 1 or 2 days time to do that. Right. So if you have that kind of skills, you are able to develop them in this course of time, it would be really useful.
Right. And any specific website or any specific company which you would recommend for pursuing these courses of financial modeling?
I came across one financial modeling course of EY, as well as one was from Udemy. So I think both were good, because there are certain classes, they give you a certificate at the end. I haven't taken any of them, so I can't actually recommend that Udemy is better than the EY one.
Right. Makes sense. That's absolutely fine. But at least people will get to know that there are courses on Udemy and EY about financial modeling. And they can, of course, like at their own interest, try to see a demo lecture, and they can decide whether to take this course or not. Talking about the BCG interview now, and like just delving upon some facts over there as well. So can you just walk us through your preparation journey? Like मुझे भी याद है जब मैं prepare कर रहा था मेरी BCG interview के लिए, तो मैं तो मतलब एक महीना पूरा case studies ही practice करता था. Can you walk us through your preparation journey कि prepare कैसे किया, and how was that entire experience in terms of after shortlisting पूरा process कैसे होता है जहाँ पे buddies assign होते हैं? Can you just walk the entire audience through that process?
Sure. So once you get shortlisted, एक mail आता है, and वो मेल में आपको 2 buddies assign होते हैं, their name, their contact is given. So buddy is a person who is already working at BCG, and they would usually be up to consultant level, which is like up to 3 years of tenure in BCG. And they are the ones who guide us throughout the interview process. So they tell you what are cases, what are the different genre of cases that you might be asked in the interview. They walk you through the entire interview process, what are the different skills that would actually matter during the interview, what interviewer would judge. So they are your mentor for those like 3 weeks, 4 weeks, depending upon when your interview is scheduled. Now, on the day of your shortlisting, you contact your buddies that you have been shortlisted and would like to connect further to understand the process and all. What happens is, although we say that buddy is your mentor for the entire 1 month, but since they are already working at BCG, so their schedule is quite hectic. And it's not that they would be able to give you time on a daily basis. Usually it's the weekends on which they can do cases with you. What we did, and actually what everyone did during their time, was we make a group of 2 to 3 people who has been shortlisted. So let's say I fix a time with the person A that, okay, let's do a case at 3 p.m. every day. So for let's say 20 minutes, he would give me a case. For next 20 minutes, I would give him a case. And that's how we would seek feedback from each other. Then you have some slot fixed with person B. So during my time, I had like 2-3 persons, like group of 2-3 people with whom I would practice. For BCG, we got quite a good time, like 1.5 month for the practice. Usually, I was doing 2 to 3 cases in a day, not more than that. And my buddy was also practicing with me. They're like, I did almost 5 to 6 cases with my buddy. So with me, what happened is I had two buddies, but one buddy got very busy after like initial 2 weeks, so I couldn't do any case with that buddy. Then another buddy was also busy, but I could manage to take some advice from her, and she was able to manage some time for me. So that's how it went. But overall, I believe that the practice that I did with my peers really helped me a lot, because you both are quite open to each other and you can seek feedback more comfortably.
Right.
Buddies are important because they have actually gone through that process and they know how it looks like in reality. So
Right.
that was my learning from the entire process. My buddy used to give me tips like, okay, don't do any case one day before the interview. It only messes up with your mind, and just relax and enjoy the interview process. I mean, that's actually a correct line and very like true line. You should enjoy the entire consulting interview process. It's really interesting. At least it was interesting for me. You are solving a business problem, coming up with the different ideas. So yeah, it was so interesting for me.
Any specific resources or websites you used during your preparation?
So there is a channel, Victor Cheng,
Yeah.
on YouTube, and there are a lot of consulting interview videos on that channel which my buddy recommended. So you can actually see those videos to get the feel how the interview looks like in reality, although that's like a physical setup, in-person setup. But yeah, you get a feel how the conversation goes between you and your interviewer.
Right, makes sense.
Besides that, I referred the book Case Interviews Cracked, I Am a Case Club, and there was one more book called Case Compendium. So these were the 3 books I referred during my case preparation.
एक और होता है ना, केस इन पॉइंट करके कुछ होता है शायद.
I think these 3 books were enough for me. I didn't go for any other book.
That's good, क्योंकि मैं केस इन पॉइंट पढ़ लिया था, बट मैं तो सिलेक्ट नहीं हो पाया. So I think whatever you say would make more sense as compared to what I.
It's not like which book you do. I would say cases सारे books में हैं, but I don't think it makes much sense to do lot of cases. It's important that you know how does the problem solving work, what all aspects you should cover. And honestly, my favorite book has been Case Compendium because of the simplicity, specificity, and the crispness of that book.
Right. So can you help all the students understand in terms of what type of cases are these? How do you tackle them? And like what were some of the questions which you were asked in your actual interview at BCG?
Basically, there is one profitability type of case, another is market entry, then there is a growth case, and then comes the unconventional cases. In the profitability case, the statement would be more like there's a company and profits are falling by 20% since past 2 years. You have to find the problem and come up with a solution. So in that case, you have to follow a structure. Okay, it's a profit we are referring to. Profit is made up of sales, and then we have cost. Either the problem is on sales side or on the cost side. Then you further break the sales into quantity and the price, and then the entire framework goes. Of course, I'm telling it in very general terms, but depending upon industry to industry, you have to tweak the formulas. You have to use the industry specific words that last a good impression on the interviewer. Second type is market entry. So the case statement would look like your client is X company and they want to enter into a new market in Indonesia. You have to advise whether it would be a good move to enter into that market. If yes, then why? And then you have to devise the implementation plan for them, how they can enter into the market. And in that, basically, there are 3 parts to this case. One would be evaluating the market attractiveness, which is the financial part. Second would be the operational feasibility, and third would be around the risk and opportunities to enter into this market. Now, usually in a case, you don't need to do all the 3. Your interview would guide you. Most probably, he would like you to discuss on market attractiveness, wherein you would be calculating the market size, market share, and the resultant profit from entering into that market. Third is the growth case, in which the statement would look like there is a company X and their profits or the revenues have become stagnant for the past 3 years, and now they want to increase the revenue growth rate by 5x in the next 5 years. Now, what are the different alternatives by which they can actually increase the revenue or multiply the revenue? Now, usually the framework goes like there is an organic strategy and the inorganic one. Inorganic is like you can acquire a company, you can merge with a company, or organic would be like you are growing your own company with your inputs, processes, and whatever resources you can deploy to make your company grow. You can enter into a new business, new geography, new product, so like that. And the fourth one, unconventional. So it could be any statement. It could be a statement like your friend lost a wallet and now he has called you to advise what to do in that case. So this is a like very casual statement, but you never know. Unconventional case can be anything. It might be even like there's an insurance company and there is a problem on the insurance broker, or like they want to attract more insurance brokers into that insurance company. What could be the strategy to it? Now it doesn't fall either in the profitability case, market entry case, or the growth case. So basically, if any case is not falling under any of these frameworks, we call it as like unconventional.
Right.
So on my interview day, there were 4 rounds. So basically, the initial 2 rounds are mandatory for all. So it's not like if your first round doesn't go well, you will not be able to, attend the second round. So for the first 2 rounds, there were 2 different people. One was the PL, the project leader at BCG, and second one was principal at BCG. So in my first round, I was asked an unconventional case, which was around insurance company. So there was a problem that with that insurance company, the number of insurance brokers are reducing, and insurance company wants to know what's the reason for the same and how they can actually lure more insurance brokers into that company. So I was not having much background of the insurance company, how it works. So what I did was I just told the interviewer that, okay, this is my understanding of insurance company. And then I asked him, okay, is my understanding correct? What is it that I'm missing? Then he told me about the entire problem in detail, and then we went on solving it. I don't know whether my solution was correct or not, but since it was an unconventional case, so they are more concerned about your approach, your enthusiasm, your communication skills, and everything. But in every round, the first question that you would be asked would be around like, tell me about yourself. And I think that's the great time to make an impression and tell the interviewer about, okay, which topic are you interested in. So I would tell you one incident with my friend. What happened, he told that he's very much into politics, like he likes playing chess and all that, and he was asked all the 3 case studies on a political party. I mean, this is such a coincidence or what, but yeah, that's what happened. There was a girl who is very good at art and painting. So she told in the first question, like, tell me about yourself, that I am very much interested in paintings and I have done a lot of artwork in the past. Now, for her also, I think 2 out of 3 case studies were around art and painting. So I think the tell me about yourself question can be sometimes very much beneficial if you have a particular hobby, let's say chess or any sports, then it might play around.
Right.
Second, they just like after asking the question, tell me about yourself, they are like, okay, let's start with the case. The case lasts around 10 to 15 minutes, and at the end, they would ask you, okay, do you have any questions for me? I would say it's a good thing to ask them some questions, like make it ready in your mind. What are the 1 or 2 questions that you are going to ask to that person? It leaves a good impression, like you are really interested in the job and you will like to know more. I think the format of all the 4 rounds was same for me. Like they usually ask, okay, why you want to join consulting, and if you want to join consulting, why only BCG? All these type of questions. So it's good to have a ready answer in your mind. Sometimes people don't prepare these answers, so it might not look good at that point of time. So yeah, these are the questions you can prepare. In my second round, I was asked a guesstimate. So I was asked to estimate the number of government schools in my state, which is Madhya Pradesh.
Wow.
Now I would tell you, in that guesstimate, I took a right assumption, but I messed up in the calculation at some point of time. And I was actually afraid, okay, I have messed up with few calculation. How would it go? But actually, since my approach was correct and the person was interested more in my approach than in my calculation, I believe. So I got a call for third round. My third round was around the profitability case. It was a TV manufacturer and the profits were falling, and I had to come up with a solution. So I followed the structure that I just told, and the case was solved. In my fourth round, I got a growth strategy case. So I think in my BCG rounds, I got like 4 different type of cases in 4 different rounds. So the fourth was a growth case, and there was a spare parts manufacturer company, and they want to increase the revenue by 4 or 5x in the next 7 to 8 years. So you have to devise a growth strategy. It was a very deep breakdown question. You have to break a lot of things, and it was the last round with that partner.
Right.
So honestly, after completing 3 rounds, you are giving your fourth round at 3 p.m. and you have started at 7 a.m. in the morning. So I think when you go to fourth round, you are actually messed up. You feel like, okay, let this round finished. I don't want to give any more round.
क्या
It was
ज्यादा
like that.
stressful था, like giving CA finals examination or giving BCG interview?
I think both are like not comparable. It's a different kind of stress. And actually, I would say it's not a stress, but you have woke up in the morning at 7 a.m. and it's like you are waiting. You would be called for the interview. Then you get your first call at 10 a.m. Then you get your second round call at 11:30 a.m. And then I think third round was somewhere at 1 and fourth round was at 3. So like these 2 hours gap, like people
Right.
start creating lot of assumption, हुआ नहीं हुआ, eliminate तो नहीं हो गए, call तो आया नहीं है कोई. And after my fourth round at 3 p.m. I didn't receive any call till 8 p.m. in the evening.
Okay.
So like many of us were like कि ठीक है अभी जो हो गया तो होना था, अब तो नहीं देना और इंटरव्यू पे राउंड आएगा तो. And most of us were like undressed कि ठीक है अभी फॉर्मल्स वगैरह चेंज कर लेते हैं, कैजुअल्स में आ जाते हैं ऑल दैट. 8 p.m. पे वी गॉट अ कॉल दैट देयर इज वन मोर राउंड एंड नाउ वी वर लाइक कि अब इतने राउंड तो ले लिए, अभी क्या और राउंड लेना है. तो अगेन वी ऑल जॉइन द लिंक एंड देन दे told us, okay, meet your 2021 CA cohort of BCG, and that was the moment, like all the remaining persons, we were all selected, and ours was the first batch wherein BCG actually hired 11 CAs. Usually they hire like 2 or 3 CAs. So even we were surprised कि यार 11 लोगों को elimination call नहीं आया है, किसी का तो elimination होगा. BCG won't hire all 11, but surprisingly they hired all 11 on that day. So yeah, it was a different moment.
Very nice. तो किसमें ज़्यादा खुशी मिली थी, getting an All India rank 1 या getting selected by BCG?
Actually for both, but I would say of course All India rank 1 has a different kind of happiness. Right. Because like I would tell honestly, before becoming CA I was not very much into like मुझे consulting में ही जाना है, या फिर I would say I was not much like aware about how the consulting world looks like. Right. When I was going through the case interview process, then I started enjoying the process, and I was like, okay, करनी तो management consulting ही है, and it would be best if I get into BCG. So of course I was so happy at the moment when I got to know that I have been selected.
Very nice. मैं उतना equally dejected था जब मुझे पता चला कि I did not get through BCG. मुझे आज भी याद है, मेरे को call आया था and I had got this feedback that the interviewer had told that you need to improve upon your communication skills and we are not confident sending you in front of a client on day 1 itself. I was a little sad because I had prepared for 1.5 months. I had solved almost 150 to 200 case studies. मतलब 2 से 3 cases तो हर फ्रेंड्स के साथ करता ही था. आई थिंक हाँ, फाइनल राउंड्स में आई वाज रिजेक्टेड. जब भी मेरे को भी ऐसा ही कुछ सिमिलर केस था कि बास्किन रॉबिन्स का फ्रेंचाइजी ओपन करना है उनको बॉम्बे में. So what would you advise, whether like which location or maybe do you think they should open a franchisee in Bombay? So this was the case given. और मैंने इसमें silly mistakes किए थे कि मैंने पूछा ही नहीं था कि ये मतलब यहाँ पे कस्टमर्स भी बैठ सकते या नहीं बैठ सकते या सिर्फ डिलीवरी होगा या like those kind of questions which are very common sense questions. तो मैंने वो सब पूछा नहीं था, and that's why like they were also like कि मतलब he is not the right fit for the company. तो I think learning was very good for me as well. मतलब बहुत मजा आया था वो 1.5 months में, जहाँ पे you get to like scrutinize everything as if you are a consultant. मतलब कुछ भी देखते तो ऐसे लगता है अरे हाँ इसके आगे ये इंटरव्यू में पूछ सकते हैं. फॉर एग्जाम्पल मैं मॉल में भी जाता था तो ऐसे लगता था कि अरे इस पे क्वेश्चन आ सकता है, एस्टिमेट द नंबर ऑफ स्टोर्स इन अ मॉल व्हिच कैन बी देयर. तो बहुत माइंडसेट वैसे ही हो जाता है, which is like fair if you want to become a consultant.
Right. Maybe I want to ask you a question. Why do you think it happened with you in that franchisee वाला case that you committed those silly mistakes?
Yeah, it would be because of stress, nervousness. क्योंकि हमारा कैसा था, हमारा एक दिन में नहीं हुआ था. हमारे इंटरव्यूज जो है वो एक हफ्ते बाद हो रहे थे और हम लोग इतने मतलब ये हो गए थे कि इम्पेशेंट हो गए थे कि अरे यार कितने एक हफ्ते बाद एक राउंड हुआ, फिर नेक्स्ट वीक पता चलता है कि सेकंड राउंड है, नेक्स्ट वीक सेकंड राउंड क्लियर हुआ, फिर पता चलता है कि 2 हफ्ते बाद अभी थर्ड राउंड है. मतलब ऐसे लग रहा था कि अरे बाकी अपॉर्चुनिटीज एक्सप्लोर करे कि नहीं करे. कितना 1-1.5 महीने तक का तो पूरा इंटरव्यू चला था हमारा, एक दिन पे नहीं हुआ था. एंड ड्यूरिंग आवर बैच, मतलब कोविड तभी चल रहा था, तो बीसीजी वाज आल्सो मतलब डिसाइडिंग कि कितने लोग सिलेक्ट करना भी है या नहीं करना है. सो अल्टीमेटली ओनली 2 people वर सिलेक्टेड फ्रॉम आवर बैच इन नवंबर 2019 जब हुआ था. So I think one of the major reasons would be
Oh,
because of nervousness. Second would be because of like थोड़ा stress, anxiety, impatience कि यार 1.5 महीने से चल रहा है अभी, like we are frustrated now, अभी खत्म करो वैसे types. एंड थर्डली मुझे लगता है कि थोड़ा मेरा मतलब कम्युनिकेशन में मतलब आई एम नॉट गुड व्हेन इट कम्स टू वर्चुअल इंटरव्यूज प्रोबेबली. मतलब पता नहीं उसमें मतलब आई डोंट थिंक आई परफॉर्म दैट गुड एज कम्पेयर टू इन पर्सन या ऑफलाइन चीजें. बट मोस्टली यही था कि स्ट्रेस के कारण एंड नर्वसनेस, एंड आई वाज नॉट दैट कॉन्फिडेंट इज व्हाट आई गॉट टू नो आफ्टर द इंटरव्यू वाज ओवर. बट ठीक है, मतलब मेरा तो यही मानना है कि वॉट एवर
right.
इज द डिसीजन यू शुड जस्ट कीप मूव ऑन. एंड मेरे हिसाब से तो यही कि वॉट वैल्यू यू एड इन द ऑर्गेनाइजेशन, दैट इज मोर इम्पैक्टफुल as compared to the
That
brand
is,
of the organization on your resume. I have a different viewpoint here.
yeah, completely aligned. And
Yeah.
1 महीना तो आई थिंक बहुत ही ज्यादा होता है किसी भी इंटरव्यू प्रोसेस के लिए. आई थिंक
मतलब
फ्रस्ट्रेशन इज ऑब्वियस इन
एग्जैक्टली
दैट
यार,
केस.
इतना सीए फाइनल्स का एग्जाम भी नहीं था. सीए फाइनल्स के एग्जाम भी 15-20 दिन में खत्म हो गए थे और ये ऐसे लग रहा था 1-1.5 महीना चल रहा है. मतलब कौन सी एग्जाम दे रहा हूँ मैं जो 1.5 महीने चलती है. तो बहुत ज्यादा
राइट.
फ्रस्ट्रेशन हो गया था. बट ठीक है, आई मीन इन हाइंडसाइट व्हेन आई लुक बैक, आई थिंक जो भी होता है अच्छे के लिए होता है. मैं ऐसे सोचता हूँ कि अगर सपोज मैं बीसीजी
राइट.
होता तो मैं यूट्यूब चैनल शुरू नहीं कर पाता बिकॉज ऑफ द हेक्टिक वर्क शेड्यूल. या तो मैं कभी मतलब कंटेंट
राइट.
साइड में कभी एक्सप्लोर ही नहीं कर पाता. आई थिंक आई लव दिस साइड आल्सो, जहाँ पे लाइक just being creative and making and adding some value in people's lives. Probably this makes me happier now.
I feel it bit ironic for me though.
So Chalo, let's talk about your work profile now. Everyone wants to know what does a typical day in your life look like. What exactly are some of the projects you're working on? Of course, if they might be, like if you'll be comfortable disclosing them, if they are not confidential, the ones which you've worked already. And कैसे होता है, like management consultant करता क्या है? So your entire experience in the last 1 year, if you can just walk us through that.
Sure. So broadly, there are two type of cases which actually works. One is strategy, one is implementation, and third might be around some sort of government reports. So I have worked on two strategy cases till now. So usually for a consultant, work looks like you start your day at 9 or 10 a.m. in the morning. Then there would be a stand-up sort of thing with your manager, wherein your manager would tell you, okay, this is your module, and these are the deliverables for the client, or these are the questions we need to answer here. Then you would actually make your own strategy for answering those questions. There would be frequent catch-ups with your project leader. Okay, this is what I am thinking, and do you think it makes sense or not? You do a lot of research basically of the competitors depending from case to case. So maybe I'll take an example. My first case was a growth strategy case, and client wanted to increase the revenue growth of the company by 5x in the next 8 to 10 years. So for that revenue growth, I was benchmarking the competitor companies, the best companies, or like top 5 in that sector. Like we did complete financial analysis, operational analysis. Okay, what are the strategies? What have been working for them? And then we turn it into slides, some Excel models. Then we present it to our managers or partners. Okay, these are the 5 things that have worked for competitors, and let's take it to client, adding some of our own flavor. Okay, that's what the BCG point of view is on this topic, and that's how the case goes in its entirety. And let's say if the cases of 3 to 4 months, usually strategy cases are short because we have to devise a strategy. These are the 5 things you should do in order to achieve your objective. So it like gets over in 3 to 4 months. At the end, we tell to client, here are the 4 things that you need to do. Our recommendations are very specific and actionable so that client actually knows what to do when BCG goes. Second thing is like in terms of the process, how it works. So usually there is a meeting called SCM, steer committee meeting, scheduled in every 2 weeks or maybe in 1 month depending upon the tenure of the case, wherein you interact with the CEOs and the CXOs of the company. You present your ideas to them, then you discuss with them, okay, this idea won't work, you need to come up with different ideas, like that. So yeah, that's how the entire process works. In terms of how the consultant life looks like, so as I told you, the timings are quite, I would say, not fixed. You can start your day at 8 or 9 a.m. and you don't know when you will end it depending upon the client requirement.
How many hours would you
let's
work
say if
typically in
you
a day?
So on my past 2 cases, I used to work, I think, 13 to 14 hours at an average. But like there were times when I was working for, I think I worked for 15 to 16 hours as well. So for some nights I was sleeping at 2 or 3, and then I have a meeting at 8 a.m. in the morning. But having said this, there is a cooling period between two cases. So let's say if my case gets over, which means I would be unstaffed, and for that 1 or 2 week I would be on bench, wherein I would be exploring the cases. Then I would tell to staffing, okay, this is the case I want to do in the next upcoming 3 to 4 months. So usually there's a cooling period between two cases. Also on the case, it's not like every time there's a fire. So there have been times when there is no work on few days. You are chilling out with your team. You are going out for team dinners. There are case team outings, and yeah, there is a time where when you chill. So it's a mix of it, and that's why I found it sustainable for some reason. Let's see how it goes in the next 2 to 3 years.
Right.
One thing also depends on your traveling, like whether your case is traveling or not. So my first case was a mix of work from home and traveling. So my case was in Hyderabad, but it doesn't require me to travel for like 2 weeks. Then I was in Hyderabad for 1 week. I came back, and then I don't have to go again. My second case was work from home for beginning 2 months. Then I went to Delhi for the case, and then it was hybrid model. We used to go like 2 3 days in a week. You can work from home for like 1 or 2 day. I think traveling saves a lot of time in some way, but for being efficient in terms of content, in terms of brainstorming, it works well when you are working with your team physically at the office.
Right.
So yeah.
Makes sense. And tell us more about the travel experiences as well. Like we've seen on your LinkedIn that you had gone to Malaysia with those photos with the Petronas Twin Towers as well. So how was that entire experience, and how was that offsite in total, so that people also get to know the other side of consulting?
Sure. So I went to Malaysia for a training. So since I have completed 1 year at BCG, so when you're about to complete 1 year, there are some trainings scheduled outside India. So my training was in Malaysia. I went to Malaysia for the same, but so it was a 5 days training, Monday to Friday. So I planned my trip in a way that I would be in Malaysia pre-weekend as well as the post-weekend. So I visited Genting for 2 days, Saturday and Sunday. 5 days I did my training, and then I went to Langkawi, which is also in Malaysia. So like for chilling out with the colleagues, with the friends. Overall training experience was quite good in the way that you were not only with the Indian employees. I interacted with the people from China, Japan, Singapore, and from like different countries. So it was overall a good exposure to know how these people work, what's the difference between Indian working culture, their culture, and all the differences. So overall, it was a great experience, and then I extended my holiday for the next week as well for Singapore.
Wow.
So that was not related to my official trip; that was my personal one.
Got it.
Besides this, there is an annual outing wherein everyone from BCG office, like Delhi, Mumbai, Bangalore, they all get together at one place. It's like 2 days offsite. Third day, there are case team outings. So let's say I am working in a team of 5 to 6 people, and if the case is more than 3 to 4 months, then you are eligible for a case team outing wherein you and your entire team can chill at a resort for like Saturday and Sunday. So I have been to one case team offsite till now, which was in Kerala. So like this is also one of the thing for like a cool side of BCG, I would say.
Right. Now I feel कि यार काश मैं select हो जाता था, ये सब मेरे को भी करने मिलता. But I think it sounds very enriching in terms of your entire experience. Can you just let us know, like in terms of what exactly was the training, in terms of how it helped you gain some skills, or how it helped you in terms of improving or maybe grooming your personality?
On the first day of training, we were told about a personality type. So before the training, there was a complete assessment that we have to do. It was a survey sort of. There were like 200 or 250 questions, which was the behavioral questions. Like if you are in this situation, what would you like to do? Are you a kind of person who works well under pressure or who works well without pressure? So like there were 200 to 250 questions in that survey. And basis the answer that we have filled, we were told a personality type on the first day of the training. And then there was a complete booklet with the advices. Okay, you are that kind of personality. Then you need to add these 4 things into your behavior so as to deal with another kind of person. So basically, the concept was that you are working with a manager, and that manager is introvert, you are extrovert. Like there were 4 categories actually. So if let's say that manager is a particular personality type and you are extrovert or a particular kind of personality, then how to deal with that person
Got
so as
it.
to make the entire working experience effective.
Right.
And such training is also done for project managers, project leaders, and partners as well. So overall idea was to how to deal with a person who is different from you in terms of the culture, in terms of the behavior, and that was the most cool thing I found in the training.
Yeah.
Second was around how to build good habits that are good for work. So there was a mention of the book Atomic Habits and the entire chain which is mentioned in Atomic Habits. Like firstly there is a cue, then you get attractive to the particular habit. Then there's a whole cycle, you adopt it in a schedule. Then all these things were mentioned in that training. One session was on like what should be your purpose and all that. So overall I find it was a useful training,
Right.
not in just not in terms of content, but overall networking opportunities that it provided to us.
Right. And what does a typical pay structure would look like for a management consultant? If you can help us with a pay range or maybe, the salary estimates, so people can also get to know about this part.
So if you're hired at an undergrad level, so basically BCG hires CAs and IITians at undergrad level. You will get the pay under the range of maybe 18 to 22 something. And if you are hired, like if you are an MBA, then you would be hired as senior associate, and your pay would start somewhere between 28 to 35 or 36. No, I'm not sure about the variable, but I think fixed would be between the range of 26 to 30. And as you grow up in the ladder, like you become senior associate second year, then your pay might be in the range of 35 to 45, depending upon the variable portion.
Right.
And after becoming senior associate, it goes like there's a huge growth in the pay structure as you move up in the ladder.
Right, got it. And just one quick question on the consulting part before we move on to the generic part as well. So tell me one thing, like what would be the best part about your entire work experience? Because see, what I've heard, मैं जब interview दे रहा था मुझे ऐसे बताया गया था कि there's no hierarchy, and I've heard this from a lot of people कि you can easily bump into, let's say, even the managing director and partners. You can be free to talk to anyone in the office. I'd gone to the Mumbai office, which was at Maker Max City at BKC, and trust me, I was just awestruck by the entire environment over there, and I was feeling कि यार मेरे को इधर आना ही आना है. Maybe so. What is that one part which you really like and which you cherish the most about the organization?
Overall, I like the way people work here. So in a team, as I told you, there is a project leader who catches up with you from day-to-day basis. So that person would assign you the module. There would be quick catch-up session with that person, but you are completely accountable for your own module. You present it to partners, and depending upon the type of case, you present it to the clients as well. You get the opportunity to present it before CXO -1 people, or maybe at times, depending upon your skills, if people have faith in you, you get opportunity to present before CXOs as well. As I told you, there's a big meeting called SCM Steergo meeting. So usually it is said that undergrads don't get that opportunity to present in SCM, but sometimes managers are quite liberal and they allow you to speak in between. You can pitch in for your points for your module. So till now I have been part of several SCMs at BCG. So I have been given that opportunity to speak for my module, to pitch in. So I really love that part. Second part I love about consulting is the kind of work we do. Industry keep on changing. You get to know about some new business. You develop that muscle to understand the business, identify the problems, and actually solve that problem in a very structured way. I mean, it is not just the consulting where this approach is useful. You can apply this approach in your personal life as well to solve your problems like in a structured way, considering it as it's not my problem, it's someone else's problem. So I think the skill that consulting teaches you help you in long term.
Right. And what would be the exit opportunities from BCG? Like after BCG, what are the options which people explore? If you can help us with some examples as well.
Sure. So I have seen people going to industry or starting their own startup. And there's another option which is IBP or VC. So in BCG, what I have seen personally is depending upon the level at which you take the exit. So let's say if you're a partner or if you are MDP, which is managing partner, then in that case, you would definitely be getting an opportunity to become CEO or like at the president level. If you are a project leader in BCG, then also you would be getting good position like CEO -1 type.
Right.
And if you start your own startup, like I have seen people starting their own startup because they know how to identify the problem that exists, how to solve that problem. You get that muscle to build the entire business from scratch. So that's one of the route. Another thing is you can take leading positions at IB or the PE firms. So there is a firm called A91 Partners. So if you will see the structure of that firm, it has been started by people from BCG, McKinsey, and Bain, who are like IIT, IIMs. So that is also one of the option. And once you get into BCG, you keep getting like lot of interviewing opportunities at these PE VC firms like Blackstone, Advent, Sequoia, and all that.
Got it. What would be your piece of advice for a person who is at an undergrad level right now in his first year, second year of college? If that person wants to get into BCG, what are some things he or she should do right from now itself?
So first step to get into BCG is to get your CV shortlisted. To get your CV shortlisted, besides the academic qualifications, it's important to be strong on the extracurriculars as well. That's what I have felt. And if not extracurricular, some sort of thing which sets you aside from the other audience. So let's say if you have been part of any committee, you have leaded that committee, or there was a startup project in your college and you did something on that project which was revolutionary, which was leading, or you worked on a project which really helped the company to in some way. So it's like I have one friend in BCG and she worked on something like a very good industry player in the soft drinks market. And that idea was actually implemented and published in that company's report. So I think these are the kind of things that sets you aside from others. So like work on building those things so as to make your CV more attractive to the recruiters.
Right. Makes sense. I think this was very helpful. We have discussed a lot about consulting now. Let's talk about your, content creation journey on LinkedIn. We've seen everywhere, wherever I go, people are like, "अरे नंदिनी को देखा है CA वो भी और LinkedIn पे मचा रही है and like she's getting an amazing engagement 10,000 likes 15,000 likes." इधर लोगों के 10,000 15,000 followers भी नहीं होते and तेरे को 10 15,000 likes मिल जाते हैं per post. Firstly, what is your vision in terms of, let's say, creating your own brand on LinkedIn? And secondly, how are you just like visualizing this entire content creation process, or what's your ultimate end goal with this?
Well, not being clear about the ultimate end goal, but I can tell you why I started doing this.
Yeah.
So, I think somewhere in April 2022, I actually decided that I would be consistent over LinkedIn, not every day, but maybe like every week. And why it started is one of my friend actually told me that whatever you write, whatever you post, and people really want to know your story, people get inspired. And I just thought, okay, I started with some small posts, some quotes, and I realized that people actually get influenced by whatever I share, and people actually want to know my story. And I thought if my story could be of some help to others, so why shouldn't I do it? So here is like a funny, I don't know whether you find it funny or what. So when I was, I think 14 or 15 years old, so there used to be a slam book. I think we used to call it slam books, wherein you write about your friend, like what is your friend's favorite color, what is your friend's ambition.
मेरे को तो सिर्फ एक ही याद है, your first crush name. वो मेरे को याद है. वो एक question रहता था.
Right. So usme there was a question, what do you want to become in life? I was like 15 or 16 only, but I wrote that I want to become someone who can actually inspire others. I was so young to write that, so that's why I said I don't know how will you take it, but as people say, there's a lot of power in your visions, whatever you say. So I think from there it started, like that feeling got very strengthened in my mind. So after getting All India Rank 1, I thought it would be a good platform to start that. So that's why I started writing. That's why you would have seen that most of my posts related to my personal life, my experiences, and then some are around the knowledgeable content in finance, consulting, and all that. So that's how it started. And as the time passed, I think I've got to know how to post more frequently. So that's why you would have noticed some like increase in the frequency of my post.
Yeah.
I think end goal, I don't know what's the end goal is. I just want to keep posting it till the time it helps people.
Right. So what do you think worked really well for you when it comes to, let's say, growing on LinkedIn? And, like you're at 85,000 followers on LinkedIn, if I'm not wrong. And what do you think is working very well in terms of, high engagement, high traction, etc.?
First is obviously the content that you post, engagement that you get from people. So I feel that whatever I share over my LinkedIn, people are able to, connect to my story. And if it is about the knowledgeable content, it actually depends on your composition of your followers. So if I talk about my community, it would be like most of the people from CA background, people who are doing CA or who have become CA, and others would be like from different fields. So I think whenever I post any knowledgeable content around CA or the finance, so one is my community really helps me. Second is obviously the content, and I think what I have noticed is what you actually write in the first two lines of your post decides how the engagement on your post is gonna be. So that's what I have learned in past 5 to 6 months. So yeah, I think these are some of the things I have adopted till now.
Right. And if someone wants to start LinkedIn like as a creation platform, as a creation tool, what would you advise them? How should they start? What should they keep in mind?
First is to like identify your personality type. How do people see you? So let's say if you are a startup person, you have worked in a lot of startup and you started posting about startup hacks, like how to grow a startup from scratch, what are some to-dos and not to-dos. Like I know a person who is working in a startup and she has started writing content on it. So firstly, identify how people sees you. Then like establish a community in that particular field. And as you grow, I think it's good to diversify, try out with different contents, different timings, and what are the reaction of the people on different kind of content. Then you get to know like what works well for you. Like till now also I experiment with different posting times, different type of content, and that's how I get to know, okay, what is the time that works well for me.
What is the time that
well
works well, just in generic?
In generic, I think on the working days, 10 to 11 also works well, or like between 4 to 5, after 4, I would say. On the weekends, I feel that since people are at home, the evening time or at like 10 or 11 works for me personally. So I don't know about others, but I think it varies from profile to profile as well, what works well for them.
Got it. Okay, cool. I'll keep this in mind so that you and I get good engagement on my LinkedIn handle. So thanks for sharing these tips and advices with everyone. So last question before we like end this conversation, any general piece of advice which you would like to give to all the students who are watching this video?
Any general advice would be around like if you want to get into consultancy, firstly talk to someone who has actually done it, understand it, how it works practically, decide your personality type. So if you are a person who likes to travel, who likes to explore new things on month to month or maybe week to week, then you would definitely like consulting because you get to talk to different people from different industry, do diverse kind of work. But if you're a kind of person who like to live a stable life, with a certain level of specialization in a particular topic, and you are not much comfortable with traveling from city to city every month, or working like 14 to 15 hours, then maybe you can look for something else that works best for you. It depends on your entire personality type. Just don't go for consulting because it has a good growth rate or people are going towards it. Identify what works with best with you and then decide whether you want to go into particular field, whether it's consulting, IB or PE.
Perfect. I think this was very, very valuable. Thanks a lot for sparing your time. And I think after talking to you for an hour, I have realized that मेरे को ऐसा लग रहा है कि यार मैं BCG में जाना चाहिए था. इतना cool side and इतने मजे भी होते हैं. Of course, like in hindsight, when I see like it was a good thing which didn't happen, but अभी ऐसे सुन के लग रहा है कि अरे यार जाना तो चाहिए था. काश select हो जाता तो मेरे को भी मलेशिया जाने का मौका मिलता. And all of that training and all. But thank you so much for your time, Nandini. I am sure this is going to help a lot of students in order to, like clear their consulting interviews and just understand what exactly is a profile, a management, what exactly does a management consultant does in his day-to-day life. So thanks a lot for sharing, and I hope I could do justice to your time by asking some relevant set of questions. And keep motivating and inspiring everyone over here. And we are like very much proud of what you've done in your life. And we of course have like we see all your LinkedIn posts and get inspired by your LinkedIn posts. So it really inspires me also as a person to do more in my life. So thank you so much for that.
Thanks a lot for having me today. It was really a great time to have a conversation with you.
Perfect. Thanks.